No, it's because he. Welcome to Hot Shot Sports. I'm Miles Garvey. Today we are talking NCAA tournament. We have cheers, jeers, and tears, yes or no, and we are even talking a little LeVar Ball. Let's get this hot take cannon loaded. Sports. I'm here with my friends David, Joey, and Ben. Let's get right into it. The NCAA tournament started last weekend. Guys, reactions.
Best 4 days of the sports year, that's for sure.
Oh yeah,
that's
definitely.
for sure.
Looking at this bracket, round one, there weren't really that many upsets. There were a couple 11-6 upsets. There was only one 5-12 upset this year with Middle Tennessee over Minnesota. But I think one of the biggest surprises was South Carolina scoring 65 points in the second half against Duke.
Yes.
Which is the most ever in a half against Coach K in his entire career.
Yeah.
Even that Middle Tennessee-Minnesota upset, even Vegas had Middle Tennessee winning that game. Although you got to feel for Minnesota
Vegas
losing
right.
their best player. But my upsets didn't go through in the first round. The Final Four is still intact, though. I do want to tell my story about Bucknell. They had a lead on West Virginia for a while, and back in 2005, I picked them to beat Kansas because the Wisconsin band played as the Bucknell band. So anytime Bucknell makes the tournament, I always try to pick them, but that one didn't work. Florida Gulf Coast didn't work, but overall there was a lot of close games, but just not enough upsets or buzzer beaters for the common fan.
Right.
Yeah, I would totally agree. And let's not forget that coming into this tournament, nobody really knew how good the Big Ten was. All of a sudden, the Big Ten has 3 teams in the Sweet 16. The ACC, where were they?
Yeah,
what happened to them?
In the Big Ten, there was a lot of good stories. Northwestern finally making a tournament,
right?
winning a game,
winning one.
Yeah.
And then Michigan, probably the hottest team in the country right now, wins the Big Ten tournament. They even find themselves in the Sweet 16 too. And also the Conference of Champions, the Pac-12, also has has 3 teams, so I think we're in for a good Sweet 16 round.
And going back to the Big Ten, Purdue's big man, Caleb Swanigan, who's an absolute star, he's been the first major college player in the past 25 years to have 600 points, 400 rebounds, and 100 assists in a season. And watching him go up against Deontay Burton in that game against Iowa State was absolutely insane. The two big men going after each other all game long. And just shooting threes, doing everything.
I actually a little bummed that Purdue did beat Iowa State. I had Purdue winning in my bracket, but I did have little thing with friends where we had like an NCAA player pool where you pick players and like whoever has the most total points after the tournament, you win. And I had like Jason Tatum, he got knocked out. But I picked Matt Thomas late round from Iowa State, just to ode to Onalaska, which is right down the road here. And I was like, maybe he'll go off, he's a shooter. And then he scores more than his season average. He had like 12 and then like 15 in the next game, but they lost.
That Iowa
Yeah.
State-Purdue matchup late Saturday night at the Bradley Center was an absolutely great environment. I know Milwaukee did great with a tournament there.
Yeah. All right. So Wisconsin now in the Sweet 16, knocking off Villanova, the overall #1 seed, defending champions. What do you make of Wisconsin making now their 4th straight Sweet 16? And also, do they have a shot to get into the Final Four again?
I'll be honest, I didn't have any faith in them this year in this bracket. I thought, watching them play against Northwestern and Michigan and all these other Big Ten teams and losing, I didn't think they had a chance this year. I actually had them losing to Virginia Tech in my bracket.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, but they proved me wrong. But just watching them, Ethan Happ shoots 49% from the free throw line. Nigel Hayes shoots 59%. Khalil Iverson shoots 56%. This isn't a great free throw shooting team. They shoot 64% overall from the free throw line. I think it could damage them going later into this tournament, but they proved me wrong, and they still have a chance to make to the Final Four, I think. The East region is wide open.
So as a young lad, I guess I always would pick Wisconsin in the Final Four, and these are the days where Wisconsin couldn't score a bucket for 5-6 minutes, the old days, But now that they've had that tournament success, I've always put them in, and I believe that they could beat Villanova as the 1 seed. I thought that matchup was favorable, so I did have Wisconsin in my Final Four again. Probably the first to admit I had my doubts coming into March, and even they were down and out in the second half too. Bronson Koenig picks up a 4th foul after quickly picking up a 3rd in the second half. Ethan Happ in foul trouble, and they made the most of it. And I think the reason why Wisconsin did pull off that upset is they got great contributions from Vito Brown and Nigel Hayes, who are all, we're talking about seniors here.
Yes.
So the program now, that's all about winning. The Sweet 16's last 6 or 7. I think it's time for Wisconsin to be considered one of the blue blood programs. And moving forward in the Sweet 16, you never know. One stat that I'm going to take a look at is the all-time record for three-pointers made in a tournament is 47, and Bronson Koenig has 31 made in the NCAA tournament.
Wow.
with eight in the first round and a couple clutch ones in the second round. So I think you're going to need more of those, and the seniors just don't want to go home. And how can I forget, now that we're on the Wisconsin page, how can you forget the super senior Zach Showalter?
Yeah.
Yeah, I too had my doubts about Wisconsin coming into this tournament. Obviously, they've been very up and down, had a strong start to the season, had that rough patch there near the end with the Big Ten schedule, got to the Big Ten tournament, got to the finals, came up short to Michigan. So coming in, I just didn't really know what to expect from them. I thought Virginia Tech was a good enough team to beat Wisconsin, but I was pleasantly surprised by Wisconsin's production. And speaking on the free throws, that's going to be a big thing. To me, that might be the only real doubt I have about Wisconsin.
They made a lot of free throws against Virginia Tech.
They did.
Not so much against
They shot
Villanova.
76% against Virginia Tech, shot 43.8% against Villanova. How they won against the defending champion is beyond me with that shooting percentage.
I think with this team, what really helps them is all their experience, because they have 4 seniors in their starting lineup: Koenig, Hayes, Vito Brown, and Zach Showalter. Then you see all these other teams like Kentucky and UCLA who have a whole bunch of freshmen in their starting lineups. They don't have the experience. Wisconsin's been successful. They've been in 4 straight Sweet 16s, and all of these starters have been there.
I was actually pretty high on Wisconsin coming into the tournament, to be honest. I thought they started playing well through the Big Ten tournament.
That's coming from an Ohio State
An
guy.
Ohio
Thank
State
you very
fan.
much.
I was big, and I thought with Bronson Koenig and Nigel Hayes, the 2 guys who have had a lot of success in this tournament, I thought the experience could push them through. And I'm never high on Villanova. I had them losing in the second round last year. They ended up becoming the champions. I think they always seem to lose in the round of 32 to me, except last year they just had all the breaks go their way.
I'm
So,
excited for this next round. You have Madison Square Garden, should be full red, and you don't have Duke or Villanova,
Oh, yeah.
and you have Uncle Vern. Bring it on.
Oh, yeah. So, other than the Wisconsin matchup now in the Sweet 16, or I guess the Wisconsin making, what about the matchups in the Sweet 16? Are there any that particularly interest you? at all?
The one that most jumps off the page to me is UCLA and Kentucky.
Most definitely.
That is probably one of the premier matchups in this whole tournament. UCLA beat Kentucky 97-92 in their first matchup back in December, and they were in Kentucky for that game. It's a matchup of star freshman guards. You got Malik Monk for Kentucky, who has 20 points per game, versus Lonzo Ball of UCLA, who shoots 15 points per game.
Don't forget about De'Aaron Fox, too. That backcourt is very strong.
Yep. The one that I'm looking forward to is in the top right of your bracket there. It's Oregon versus Michigan. Michigan's one of the hottest teams right now. They've won 6 or 7 in a row. And Oregon, who made it to the Elite Eight last year and then got knocked out by Wisconsin in each year in the round of 32, I think that they've want to prove themselves and get to a Final Four. But Michigan, how they're just hot. That one should be interesting. And really with this Sweet 16, with the exception of South Carolina or Baylor, these programs haven't been there. Baylor's been in the Sweet 16, I guess. But it's about as blue blood of a Sweet 16 as that you may ever see. There's really no underdog. You could even South Carolina. They were the 7th seed over Marquette, right? So there's really no right or wrong, with the exception of a few programs, Duke, Villanova, and I'll make the argument for Michigan State as well. But it's going to be as blue blood as it gets.
Oh, yeah.
And let's not forget also, Oregon lost Chris Boucher in the Pac-12 tournament to a tournament in Seattle. So they lost a pretty significant contributor coming into this tournament. So I would say it's pretty impressive that they made it as far as they have. For me, the matchup, and maybe I'm a homer, but I'm looking forward to Wisconsin, Florida. Two very well-coached teams going at it. And arguably, in my opinion, I think they had the 2 best wins in this tournament so far. Wisconsin upending the defending champions in a game that I don't think anyone had them winning. You had Florida dismantling Virginia by 26. Now, maybe Virginia is overrated. I don't know. But I still think that's an impressive victory nonetheless. And, of course, you have lacrosse native Bronson Koenig. I watched him play in high school at Aquinas.
Yes.
Always exciting to see him play. He's playing at a very high level. Nigel Hayes is playing at a high level. And let's not forget, perhaps, the most exciting thing about this game, Rick Barry's youngest son, Canyon Barry, bringing the underhand free throw back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he
What more can you want?
He shoots 90%. If you're an X's and O's guy, I think Wisconsin and Florida will probably be the most entertaining.
Oh, yeah.
As far as Wisconsin works it inside out, Florida's a very good defensive team, and they average about 78 points a game. And the rest of them, not that the X's and O's aren't important, but there's just talent more so up and down maybe than that one.
Yes, I think the UCLA-Kentucky game is definitely going to be one of the best of the tournament, even better than a Final Four or a championship matchup. Speaking of Final Four championship matchups, who do you guys got in the Final Four, and who do you got winning your championship?
You can go for it.
Well, originally I had Duke winning the championship.
Right.
That's not happening. I also had Louisville in my Final Four originally. That also is not happening. So if I'd pick a new bracket today, I'd keep North Carolina in my Final Four. I'd put Gonzaga in the Final Four coming out of the West region. And then I'd have Wisconsin making it and Michigan coming out of the Midwest region.
Wow.
So you have Gonzaga going in finally for the first time out of the West. Not so fast, my friend. We have Arizona. I think Arizona's finally going to get to, which they call themselves the Players Program. I think they're
can't
finally
trust Arizona.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big Pac-12 fan. Bill Walton was prime entertainment all year, and he was as crazy as he is. I think he was right there. I did have Wisconsin in my Final Four just because, like I said, I'm a homer. If you can get past Florida, I think the winner of that Wisconsin-Florida game will make it back, because Florida has made a couple Final Fours even after the Billy Donovan days. The winner there, so flip a coin, really. As much as experts we are here on Hot Shot Sports, it's so random and unpredictable.
Oh, yeah.
But I think we're in for a treat no matter what happens in that UNC, Butler, and then the UCLA Kentucky region. I think that I guess you're in for a treat for that elite game no matter who gets it there.
As for me, of the remaining teams left, I have Wisconsin, Gonzaga, Kansas, and North Carolina.
Okay.
Pretty straightforward there. Obviously, I had Villanova making it originally out of the East, but as it turns out, they were good enough to beat Wisconsin. Wisconsin got hot at the right time, as it always seems to happen in the tournament. Somebody comes out of nowhere. And I think that the South Carolina-Wisconsin potential matchup that could come in the Elite Eight will be a heck of a basketball game. I personally hope we get that game coming out of that region.
So for me, my championship is UCLA, Arizona, Pac-12 filled. And I believe that Lonzo Ball is just too good for them to lose. It's enough about what I think or what we think. Let's get on to those beautiful perfect pets.
Hi everyone, I'm Loki. I'm 14 years old and I'm looking for a low-key home with owners to snuggle with because I like to be the center of attention.
Hi guys, I'm Gertie. I'm a gentle, affectionate 4-year-old pit bull. I love to get kisses and get head scratches. Huh? What? Meow! Hi, I'm Sammy. I'm 3 years old and I love exploring. I can't wait to get to know my new home and family.
Hi guys, I'm Bane, a high-energy, people-loving, 7-month-old German Shepherd Pit Bull mix. I need lots of space to run around.
To find out more about adoption for these pets or others, contact the Cooley Region Humane Society at 781-4014.
Again, the number for the Humane Society is 781-4014. Now let's get into a little bit of games. Let's get into some cheers. The first cheer that we have is the USA base basketball team. The USA. I'm actually repping USA for the baseball team. It is basketball, but for the baseball team, advancing in the World Baseball Classic. What do you guys think about that?
I think it's absolutely amazing.
Oh, yes.
It's the first time the USA has ever made the championship round in the World Baseball Classic. They're facing off against Japan, who's made it all 4 times. They've always made it. They're twice the champions of the World Baseball Classic. And if the USA wins, they will be facing off against Puerto Rico, who beat Netherlands in a thriller 11-inning game last night, which included Yadier Molina picking off Jurickson Profar, who was celebrating a single with a walk-off sac fly in the 11th inning. The World Baseball Classic has been really popular this year, and I think this is going to be a great game to watch tonight.
Hats off to the World Baseball Classic in general. And the USA, a great story. Anybody that's playing on that team is doing it for country pride. I know a lot of USA players have set out, and the players that are on the team saying, "Hey, why aren't you playing for the USA?" So that's a great story. They got Japan tonight, who did win it in 2009. That should be a great game. Adam Jones, as you could see on the picture there, robbed a home run to basically upset the Dominican Republic, who won it in 2013. And then the winner of that game gets even a better matchup against Puerto Rico on Wednesday night. Just hats off to the World Baseball Classic in general. It deserves a cheer.
Yes.
Yeah, the World Baseball Classic has been strong this year, and let's not appreciate how impressive a win this was for the USA against the Dominican Republic. Coming into this game, they lost their last 3 games against the Dominican Republic, so a big victory for them heading into the next round against Japan.
Not to mention the Dominican Republic's the defending champions of the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah.
Next cheer we have is the Big Ten, the Pac-12, and the SEC. All got 3 teams into the Sweet 16.
I think it's absolutely amazing.
Yes.
And then you have a team like the ACC who only gets 1.
Yes.
And North Carolina had to battle to
Yes.
Yeah.
there too.
And with the Big Ten, none of the Big Ten teams were seeded all that highly. You have Wisconsin an 8 seed. You have Michigan a 7 seed. Like no one would have thought that they would have had that many teams when they're all so low seeded.
Yeah.
So I guess I've heard around the grapevine, and I believe this is true, that the Big Ten sometimes they might not have what it takes to win a national championship with the 3 teams that are still in the Sweet 16, but it still is impressive when you say that the Big Ten is even down. And even Northwestern, if they didn't get jobbed by the officials, they may even be sitting in the Sweet 16 as well.
For real.
So,
Yeah, the officiating, that has been quite the circus so far. I think it's safe to say that probably no experts had the Big Ten having 3 teams in the Sweet 16. I think the Pac-12 represented itself very well so far up to this point. And the SEC obviously has looked very strong throughout the tournament, which I suppose is probably more expected. So, yeah.
And now our third cheer is going to be actually some high school basketball. The WIA State Basketball Tournament was just held in Madison over last weekend. Your winners were in D1, Stevens Point Area Senior High School, or SPASH. D2, Lacrosse Central, right here at home. Kobe King and Bradley Kale bringing home a championship to lacrosse. D3, Appleton Xavier actually took my high school out in the state championship, the farthest my high school has ever made it. In D4, Destiny was your champion, and in D5, Barneveld brought it home. And actually, a good story on Barneveld. Kids, one of their starting players' mom actually passed away on the day of the sectional final, and he played through the sectional final, the state semis, and the state championship, and they actually won the state championship.
And even too, Lacrosse Central, because Barneveld's not too far away, they actually raised some money for that family as well. A great story.
Yes.
And Lacrosse Central, they were so close last year, lost, and then they came back, and it was Bailey Kale who's going to go play D2 next year. Had the picture on his phone of him kind of crying like this, and then he said he finally changed it to holding up the gold ball. So congratulations to Lacrosse Central, right down the road. They've made the city of Lacrosse proud, and Kobe King going there. That's about 8 years of having a lacrosse high school guy play for the Badgers. So that's good stuff.
All right.
Deserves a cheer.
Our next jeer is, not next year. Our first year is going to be officiating in the NCAA tournament. We are already touched on it. Care to explain any more about it?
Yeah, there were a lot of very bad and plain missed calls in this tournament. One of the worst, I think, was the missed goaltending call in the Gonzaga-Northwestern game. Gonzaga blocked a Northwestern shot. The player put his hand through the hoop to block the shot, which is an obvious goaltending, but the referees completely missed it. And then when the Northwestern coach went ballistic asking for a call, he got teed up. So then Gonzaga gets to shoot 2 free throws. Yeah, so they get 4 free points out of that. Instead of being a 3-point game, it's a 7-point game, which really helped propel Gonzaga to victory.
And even Northwestern was doing anything they could to come from behind in that second round. They were down by like 20 in the first half. They deserved to be booed. And the other one was Arkansas had a lead on Seton Hall. And Seton Hall, they had to intentionally foul with, that happens in every end of game. And it ends up where the player kind of got him in the back. And that is a rule, but the guy kind of tripped himself, fell down. They called it an intentional foul. They make 2 free throws in the ball, and it just ruined any chance there. And so many games, too, were so sloppily called. Just too much. The refs were in the way, and it's just too much.
Yeah, it just seems like when it comes to this time of year, the refs never make anyone happy. Obviously, it's a very difficult job. I can't imagine being a ref, but obviously it's disappointing when you have very close games that are won and lost under such questionable circumstances.
If Pat Driscoll never officiates a Wisconsin game again, I'll be happy too. That game was
It'll
a joke
be too soon. Yeah.
Our second jeer is to the selection committee, having Wisconsin, as an 8 seed, and Minnesota is now as a 5 seed, and they lose in the first round. You guys have any thoughts on that one?
I mean, Wisconsin beat Minnesota during the regular season.
Yes.
And Wisconsin
twice.
and Minnesota wasn't even favored to win its own game when it was a 5 seed.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you even make that possible?
And even not just talking about Wisconsin and Villanova. Villanova, it's unfortunate for them that they had to play an 8 seed as Wisconsin, as I say. But even there was some other ones. Wichita State having to play Kentucky in the second round was just too much, even though that was a good round of 32 game a few years before.
Yes.
And then even St. Mary's having to play Arizona. St. Mary's lost 4 games all year. And there was a few teams that just were blatantly left out of the NCAA tournament. This is my opinion. You have Syracuse, who made the Final Four last year, were 10-8, one better than what they did in 2016, didn't make it, and Illinois State got left out. It was just a shame. They need to get away from the RPI, make the seeds right, and move on.
Yeah, I thought how the selection committee came up with these seeds was just bad, especially with the Big Ten. I don't understand how Wisconsin is an 8, and Northwestern's an 8, and how Minnesota got to be 5th in their bracket, in their regions, beyond me. And how about the lack of respect for the underdogs here? I mean, Middle Tennessee State won 30 games. How are they a 12 seed? How is Wichita State obviously has been very good in the tournament recently. How are they a 10 seed? I just don't understand how they come up with this stuff.
That makes sense. Okay, so for our last cheer, I'll just wrap it up real quick. Greg Marshall's wife, Greg Marshall is the coach of Wichita State, and apparently his wife had to be escorted out of the game versus Kentucky for using profane language, intimidating players, yelling at coaches, and also after the game she interrupted a press conference with some choice words for a reporter. So moving on to tiers, our first tier is the ACC. Everybody had them as the best conference in basketball this year, and now they have one team in the Sweet 16. What are your guys' thoughts?
I mean, they started out the field with 8 teams, and now they're only down to 1 after the first weekend, which is North Carolina. And North Carolina even had a hard time getting out of the round of 32 as well.
So with a conference that had that much hype going into the tournament, I do feel a little bit bad for them. But here's me playing the world's smallest violin for Duke. And even North Carolina had a battle to win their game as well. Just what a conference that didn't live up to the hype.
Well, this is what happens, unfortunately, when you play one-and-done games. Sometimes the other team is just better than you on that night. But despite that, I still think North Carolina is going to take it all. So maybe the ACC isn't as bad as we think.
We'll find out next, I guess, in a couple weeks only.
Our second tier, which I believe should be in the cheers, they got rid of the intentional walk in baseball, which I think is amazing, so I don't have to sit there and watch what I know is already going to happen, and they can just move on with the game.
I think it's awful.
Some people think it's a tier in this on this desk. So let's hear from them.
I think it's absolutely awful. I think it's a terrible decision. It only saves about a minute of time each intentional walk, and there's only one intentional walk every 2.9 games on average. So it's really not cutting much time. It seems kind of stupid to go after it, and it's just Rob Manfred goes after pace of play too much, and I think he really needs to dial it back and not keep on going after baseball.
So if you go to a game and you might get bored during it at the course of it, me as the biggest baseball fan, or I consider myself to be, you get bored sometimes when you're sitting there. And an intentional walk, that's, if you remember the one weird thing that can happen, sometimes it is an intentional walk. So.
Yeah.
Could overthrow, could accidentally throw it over the plate.
And who can forget Raleigh Fingers striking out someone in the 72 World Series on a intentional walk? He totally fooled.
I personally am all for just having a dugout signal and just getting it out of the way quicker. But I will say, considering the MLB fan base, at what point are they going to alienate the fans that enjoy the fact that baseball is the sport that changes the least?
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so our last tier, if you can see the TV behind me, if my producer will put it up there for us. There we go. The Northwestern kid crying his eyes out on TV. I personally thought CBS maybe showed him a little bit too much. I mean, he's just a little kid. But Northwestern making its first tournament in 78 years. They win their first round game. Yeah, they lose their second round game to a good Gonzaga team. But I thought the kid went maybe a little overboard. You did make your first one in the first set, or school history, so don't be as bummed as he was. But
I thought it was so funny that when you had they were down by 11, he's crying like that, and then after the call he looked calmer than he did down 11.
I think
poor kid.
Yes,
I think this kid is all of us when we're watching the tournament. Like, if Wisconsin was playing like that, then we would have been just as insane.
All right.
Anytime it could be an internet meme, that's fine by me.
Yep. Okay, now let's get ourselves a good look at the Com Club. Welcome back to Hot Shot Sports. I say before we get to the end of this show, we do a little lighthearted game between. If many of you may know the player Lonzo Ball, I talked about him a little earlier for UCLA. Well, he has a very outspoken dad named LeVar, and he's had a couple of quotes go viral. So I thought it would be a fun game if I told you a couple of quotes, and you guys decide if they're fake or if he actually said them.
Oh boy.
So here we go. Here's the first one. I would kill MJ one-on-one in my prime.
That's definitely a LeVar Ball quote.
That's LeVar Ball.
That's got LeVar Ball written all
He
over it.
would not, by the way.
He would not.
He averaged 2 points a game in 1 year at Washington State.
Yes, that is a LeVar Ball true quote. Okay, second quote. Larry Bird can't shoot like me.
That sounds like a LeVar Ball quote. I'm
That
going to say
does.
yes.
I'm gonna go with LeVar again too. Yep.
I'm going to say no. Let's
No?
say it's a fake.
It was fake. All right, and how about, we'll go two more before we wrap up. I eat Chick-fil-A on Sundays.
No, I don't think so.
Chick-fil-A's closed on Sundays. What are you talking about, Willis?
How about Gandhi can't guard me?
That sounds about right.
That's
yeah.
I hope so.
That is fake. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. This has been Hot Shot Sports. We'll see you next time.